All right. I'm here with former IBO Cruiserweight World Champion and well-respected boxing commentator Ted Cofie. Ted, mate, massive news the past week. Everyone seems to be talking about it. Tim Tszyu lost to Sebastian Fundora in the rematch. Your thoughts on the fight?
Yeah, lots of media about this. Unfortunately, Tim lost. It was sad to see, to be fair, because I think it's avoidable, or I think it was avoidable. But yeah, massive rebuilding process now for Tim Tszyu.
What anything surprised you in there? I mean, the thing that stood out for me was the difference in Sebastian Fundora and the pressure that he put Tim Tszyu under early.
Yeah, I mean, look, in sparring, we have these different things when you're a professional and you're going around the gym. You do sparring, which is 1-for-1, which is you match your opponent's output. So they hit you two, you hit them two, they hit you three, you hit them three. And then you have 2-to-1, you have 3-to-1, where they hit you once, you hit them back three times. And this is just a repetition of you creating a bit more movement and energy around the ring. And literally that's what it seemed like. Every time Tim was hitting him once, Fundora was coming back with four, five, six punches. He looked confident. He had the distance spot on. Tim didn't make any adjustments, and Fundora just capitalized and took advantage of it. The big, massive difference I feel is that Tim went into this fight thinking it's going to be the same as the last, but Fundora made the adjustment, showing that it wasn't the same as the last, if that makes sense.
What what I guess stood out for you for Tim? I mean, did he look inferior to his last fights, or has Fundora just got so much better? What did you see?
I thought Tim looked good, man. Looked good on the scales. He looked confident, but I think, and it may seem strange, but I think he went into this fight thinking he's going to win again. Thinking, oh, I've got this fight in the bag. You know what I mean? He was talking about being the WBC champion. He's going to win. What he's going to do in the future. I think he just never took into account that that Fundora was going to make the adjustment and be so much better. The big problem was that Tim made no adjustment. He was in the middle ground the whole time. Man, I was jumping up at my TV saying, Tim, get out of range, get out of range. Like, if I'd have been in Vegas that night, man, I think I may have actually even got in the ring and just yelled something. And that's what the corner needed, man. Just a massive, massive injection of passion. When you went into the corner, I think it was the end of the second, between second and third, it was just silent. I mean, it was just silent. Like it's like you'd walked into a wedding or a funeral or something where you can't make any noise, and it just needed that passion. Tim, what are you doing? Like you're in his middle range. The guy's 10 foot tall. Stand all the way outside of his range and do not get hit, and just make this fight terrible. Or go inside, grab onto him, hit him low, do anything to offset this guy. But Tim just kept standing in the middle, almost like I want to just have a fair fight methodology, and just got beaten by the better man on the night.
What do you think that is? Do you think that's Tim, after the knockdown, Tim sort of lost his way, or do you think that was the game plan going in to just sort of, go toe to toe with this guy?
Well, I think the game plan was based on the fact that they looked at the first fight and thought, tag him with a big right hand, clip him with the left hook, and he's going to go. And he's going to, if not go on the first punch, you'll chop the tree down. But, Fondora was ready for the left hook. Tim was coming in with the lead left hook, which is a good punch for a southpaw, but not a great punch for a 10 foot tall southpaw. And then after Tim got tagged, being squared up off that left hook, he just probably had some PTSD and thought, geez, and then it probably offset him a little bit. And Fondora was just teeing off on open Tim in range. I mean, honestly, Fondora must have thought it was the early Christmas. He must have had 10 Christmases at once. Yeah.
Tim getting caught in that first round. Why did he get caught? What did you see that he did wrong there?
I don't think he did too much too wrong. I mean, he was landing a good right hand. He was beginning to almost throw caution to the wind in that, let me just lead with a big right hand, let me lead with the left up. But people like Fundora, man, who's the champion, coming off a win, coming off a successful defense, confidence is sky high. You should have made the adjustment, touch him to the body, keep working downstairs, staying close. Let's see what this guy's got now that he's the champion, now that he's actually defending the title and not fighting the way that they were in the first fight. So I think, and after Bakram, you'd think Tim Tszyu would never, ever go into a fight overconfident again. But his demeanor was like, I'm going to win this belt. And I know every fighter has to say, I'm going to win, I'm going to win. But I genuinely believe that Tim Tszyu is going to go in, knock him out, and take the belt. And that's not boxing, man. That is not boxing.
There have been calls for changes in the team, changes in the corner. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we spoke about this after the background fight. Changes to the team. Sorry, eject the team. I don't know if he needs to eject the team. Changes to the team, 100%. I said they need an injection last time. I mean, they need a massive, massive injection this time. You've just got to have someone there with some passion, desire, fight, will, something that's gonna make a change, and people always say, oh, there should be one voice in the corner. Man, I think that's bullshit, because if anyone would have stood there and said, Tim, do not stand in his range, don't stand in the middle ground, Tim may have heard that and thought, oh, I better get out of range, or grab him round his waist, just smack him, bite his chest, do whatever you got to do, mate. Just do not stand at that middle distance where he can just pot shot and land beautiful combinations. And because Tim wasn't hearing that and he was a bit delirious, he just kept doing the same thing over and over again. I mean, at the end of the second round, I said to myself, end of 4, 5, 6 rounds, this fight's done. Yeah.
Mm. Calls. What did you make of the stoppage? Firstly, in terms of the corner retirement.
I'm glad it was stopped. Tim looked delirious. I think a trainer should never, ever, ever ask a boxer if he wants to continue or not. Just by default, the boxer's always going to say yes. And if the boxer does say no, you've tainted his whole career for the rest of his life. So a trainer, you sleep with them, you run with them, you sweat with them, you bleed with them, you train them. You should know when your fighter's not right to just say the fight's off to the referee. And if the fighter comes back and said you shouldn't have stopped it, you take the heat and say I saw what you didn't see and I wanted to stop that fight. Done. You don't ask a fighter. So this, it may have damaged him a bit in the fact that I think he kind of said no, but ultimately it was a good stoppage, man. He was making no adjustments. In fact, there was an argument to even stop it around the two before, and that way just let him go out, you know, undelirious and completely like just complain, but that was my corner's fault. They never should have stopped it. But the way this fight was stopped, there was almost no complaint, and you could see it was it was right. It was clean that he was going to get knocked out if it wasn't stopped.
Hindsight's a marvelous thing, but
Yeah.
you think that he was rushed into this fight and should have had a couple more, I guess, tune-up fights, a couple more Joey Spencer fights, or were they right to take the opportunity when it was there?
No, man, this is boxing. You got to take the opportunity, because sometimes a missed opportunity can mean nothing. Something never happens again. Boxing, things move quickly, and you can't undo the jigsaw puzzle once it's been pulled apart. If that's the trajectory, that's the trajectory. The thing is that Tim is at his level. Tim could have won that fight quite comfortably. If he didn't win the fight, he could have gone the distance and he could have made it competitive. I think way too much blame was put on the cut in the first one. So they thought, well, without the cut, I'm just going to be 10 times better. Again, that's not how boxing works. You got to study Fundora. He's been successful. He's a champion. He's got long limbs. He's fit. He's got all the attributes that's going to give any boxer a headache. Okay, Mendoza knocked him out, but this is boxing, man. If anyone that can punch can knock you out. Tim Tszyu, man, it's for me, it's frustrating, man. He's a great fighter. I think it was a good fight, but I think that the corner is important in the fact that when something's going against you, when you face adversity, this is when you rely on a corner. This is what made Emmanuel Stewart great. This is what made Benson great. This is what made all these guys great, because they could manipulate the minds of people, like Teddy Atlas did with Michael Moorer against, I think it was against Evander Holyfield. I mean, and his whole mindset changed. He went out and won the fight, and this is what Tim needed: just an injection of anything. Just make a change.
There,
Yeah.
been some calls for, or some people wondering whether Tim Tszyu fights on. What are your thoughts on that, and how can he rebuild?
100%, man, he can fight on. I mean, the thing about life is that we live in an evolutionary environment, right? So that evolution can create massive success in a day, but that same evolution can create massive failure, and people can rebuild and change all the time. Look at Lennox Lewis in South Africa. after 2 rounds, he was blowing against Hasim Rahman. By the end of the third round, he was almost on life support. He got knocked out cold. Give him 8 months, and the return, he knocked him out cold. So these things can change easily. Tim's a big star in Australia. You know, you can come back to Australia and you can rebuild comfortably. You know, there's Michael Zarafa, brilliant fight. And then there's Keith Thurman, another great fight. He will have been out of the ring a year and a half by then. He's aging, and then there's other big fights that he can do in Australia. He can really have 5 or 6 fights out here. He can become the undisputed king of the Southern Hemisphere, and then he can go and cash out in America on one big fight. We've got what's his name, Mateus from Namibia fighting Shushu Carrington on the weekend. He's #1 in Namibia, maybe a star, but no one knows who this guy is. Probably doesn't even deserve to be fighting for that title. But when you capture a region, you automatically catapult yourself into these title fights when maybe you shouldn't have been in the title fights if you'd have just fought in the same country. So he can come back to Australia when he goes out for a run, when he does press conferences, when he shows up at fights. He's got people's respect, man. And also, it seems that when he brings people here, he performs better. I mean, he may not have beat Tony Harrison in America, you know, but you come out here and you're brilliant. I mean, Usyk, look at the best fighter in the world, Alexander Usyk. He's never fought in America. Or has he? No, he fought Chaz. He fought Chaz Witherspoon, and he fought, who else in America? Michael Hunter. But with the exception of those guys, he's never fought in America. You don't need to fight in America. You can come here, make plenty of money, have big, big fights, all on pay-per-view, and then, you know, cash out in America on one final big unification bout or something.
That's a good point. Last one, Jai Pataya,
Yeah.
Zeno Ramirez in for shoulder surgery.
Yeah.
Perhaps puts that fight on hold for the meantime, mate. But what are your thoughts on Jai's next move?
It's a shame that that fight's on hold because everyone wants to see it. You know, I think there's been talk about Jai. There's been word of him moving up to heavyweight and fighting Usyk. I'd love to see that fight. You know, Jai's a menace and he'd give him a great fight, you know, but I'd also like to see him if he could fight Bado Jack. I think he's in for another fight as well. But if he doesn't fight Usyk, I'd still like to see him unify the cruiserweight division, even if it does take 16 or 18 months. Become unified cruiserweight and then move up to heavyweight. I think that'd be great for his career, great for the storybook. But whatever Jai does, man, I'll be watching closely.
Outstanding, Ted. Always appreciate your time, mate. Thanks for catching up.
Thanks, Jay. No problem. We'll chat soon.